Missing ship mystery solved. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show, and we're starting right now. Welcome to Eldergrown and Takahama Plateau. We're going to need suggestions tonight, people. So if T Plateau is still around, please do suggest, and or anyone else who wants to contribute. Check out our Discord link in the description. This is our show schedule. The Banned by YouTube video series drops a new episode every Wednesday morning. Every topic you see on that show was banned by YouTube, so don't miss it. And Wednesday night is movie night, when we gather for a terrifying double feature, only on Twitch and hosted by Gotchaman. Welcome Cinco 505, Michael has arrived. Welcome David Bryce, who says good evening. Coming up this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and hosted by Gotchaman, we have two more horror classics. In Haunts of the Very Rich, 7 vacationers are on an airlane. Maybe it's an airplane, bound for a mysterious resort called the Portals of Eden. They are all about to experience the vacation of a lifetime. This is the dark side version of Fantasy Island. And in The Terminal Man, as the result of a head injury, a brilliant computer scientist begins to have violent seizures. In his wish to control them, he undergoes a new surgical procedure, which is not entirely successful. So don't miss him. Oh, so sad to hear Eldergrown. Welcome to Green Tea. And we're going to go to a regular shot here. Thank you. Night Terrors depends solely on viewer support. If you like the show, please consider supporting it. In the description below, you will find different ways to contribute. And even if you can only buy me a coffee, I thank you for your support of the show. Jack11 says good evening, everyone. Still celebrating his birthday, which was yesterday. Verpine says good evening, Bill and everyone. Welcome, Verpine. Let's get started. Here at the Skeptic, or skeptic.org.uk, rather, and a story by H.H. Trotty entitled The Mary Celeste Mystery Solved. There's an article beginning, welcome Shane Riley. In early December of the year 1872, a ship was sighted that puzzled the crew of another ship, for no one answered their hails or signals. The hailed ship seemed in tolerably good shape, though carrying a limited amount of sail, and when boarded was found to be suffering water damage, as though in a past storm. But the chief question in everyone's mind was, and became for later times, what happened to the crew, for no one was aboard. This, of course, was the Mary Celeste. The windows of what appeared to be the captain's cabin were covered with boards and canvas, but a skylight was open and there was water in the cabin. Evidently the ship had passed through a storm in the fairly recent past. But where were the people? Ships have been found through the ages that sail or float in good shape without a crew. The Roman general Galba took one such event as a good omen for his assuming the purple and becoming emperor. A ship bearing a cargo of arms but having no crew drifted into the Spanish harbor of Tortosa, somewhere between Alexandria in Egypt and the port in Spain. The crew had vanished. Perhaps it was contended, according to Suetonius, in the 12 Caesars. The gods sent the ship to make easy the path of Nero's successor. That ancient puzzle was not solved. If the ship was raided and the crew taken into slavery, why were not the arms of some value in the ancient world taken as well? In any event, the finding of a ship without a crew, while rare, has been known through the ages. Oh, good. We got a topic from Verpine. Oh, we got a topic from Green Tea. I'm going to grab Green Tea here first. Thank you, Green Tea. Who was Harry Potter? Just kidding. And from Verpine, mysterious tower spotted at Area 51. Excellent. Thank you, V. And transferring those over to active suggestion mode. And we're good. Suggestions, people. Shane, can you come up with anything? Green Tea has already come up with one. And Verpine. And who else we have here? Michael, what do you got? Don't feel compelled, people. It's not a requirement. Let us page down here. We have finished all of that. The case of the ship of 1872 became famous. Its name was Mary Celeste. Marie Celeste apparently being a mistake in a British record of the event. Eldergone says, remember to night terrors with any suggestions so Bill will more easily see them. Yeah, highlight those suggestions with at anybody. At Night Terrors works good too. Thank you, T Plateau. And keep your eyes on the road there, honey. The Mary Celeste was found in excess of 500 miles from the mainland of Europe, between the Azores and Portugal's coast. I believe the Azores are owned by Portugal. Thank you, T Plateau, for the question. Excellent question. I love Rasputin topics. Thank you, T Plateau. We need like 2 more topics, people. I know you're out there. She was boarded and taken for salvage, but was impounded by British investigators when she safely made port. A lengthy scrutiny resulted in much suspicion of her rescuers, and a wine stain on deck was mistaken for blood. Blood was said to be found on a sword of the captain's, but this was later found false. Mary Celeste had carried 10 persons, a crew of 7. The captain, his wife, his baby daughter. So then 6 more. My math isn't up to it. 6 more crew members. The ship was engaged in commercial trade and had carried a cargo of approximately 1,700 barrels of crude alcohol. Not sure what crude alcohol was. What was crude alcohol in 1872? We'll ask AI. What was crude alcohol in 1872? In 1872, crude alcohol referred to unrefined or impure alcohol, typically ethanol, that had not been fully purified or distilled to remove impurities that would make you blind, such as water, fusel oils, methanol, and other byproducts of fermentation. Source: grains, molasses, fruit, or potatoes. Crude alcohol was not for drinking, because you don't want to drink that stuff. It can, as I said, delete your sight. Industrial alcohol, Elder informs us of the current term. Thank you, Elder. Grains, molasses, fruits. Let's go back. Theories of the past included piracy and mutiny, though the British remained suspicious of the circumstances. No one was ever tried for a crime, in other words, the discovering vessel, and no proof ever emerged to clarify the events of this strange happening. If we discount various fictional tales, It's wood grain alcohol. Big Al 1 informs us. Thank you, Big Al 1. Wood grain alcohol. Yeah, don't drink that stuff either. It's bad for your health. Very, very bad. It can blind you. The mystery remains to our time as one of peculiar interest and evident strangeness. An amusing little story of recent vintage. Excuse me. Almost turned off the audio on that one. Describing the disappearance of a different nature. In an aquarium, it was found that a collection of sea creatures was gradually vanishing. A tank holding examples of such would have inhabitants at the end of the day, but empty the next morning. A careful watch discovered that an octopus was in habit of climbing out of its tank, working its way to the tanks of other specimens, eating them, and making its way back to its own tank before morning. It held its breath, or held its water if you prefer, on those peculiar expeditions. Now, since we recall the story of the giant octopus that was found washed up on a Florida beach, as featured at the end of a Scientific American magazine some years ago, we ask, could a giant octopus have done the deed of disposing of the 10 people on the Mary Celeste? Probably not. If such a thing began to take place, at least some would survive in hiding places. And only one person would provide an adequate meal at any one time. Therefore, we will discount this theory as unlikely. The author says parenthetically, unfortunately, I do not have the reference to the tale of the octopus in the aquarium at hand, whose interesting expeditions excite our interest, if not our applause. I might tad wordy here, this H.H. Trotty. But we forgive them for bringing this story to our attention. Another suggestion from Verpine. Thank you so much, V. Copying now. Verpine says, ooh, a nautical haunting. Thank you, Verpine. Elder says, naughty octopus. T. Plateau says her father put wood alcohol on Mother's Christmas pudding and lit it. The first pudding in orbit. But the alcohol does burn off. After that, he used it to strip paint. Thank you, T. Plateau. We need one more suggestion, people, at least. 2 would be nice. It'd be nice to have a backup. The more modern theory of abduction by UFO may be left aside as well. How does the author know that? For we may have in our possession the real key to the mystery. Perhaps the cargo contains not the answer of crew drunkenness, madness, and murder that surfaced at the time, but another and perhaps simpler and more mundane answer. An answer that lets us down so that we may turn away, murmuring, "Oh, is that all it was?" Reality can be much less interesting and certainly less exciting than bizarre and astounding possibilities. Way to play down your topic there, pal. Good one, T. Plateau. Thank you. Got it. Another topic from Takahama Plateau. Thank you, Jazzy Locke. And we got our backup. I will bother ye no longer. Thank you, Jazzy. The answer to our puzzle may well be found in a book by John Harris, entitled Without a Trace and dated 1981. His solution, giving credit to a Sir William Crocker for the answer, points to the alcohol carried as cargo. His solution Verpine says, I bet this author is great at parties. AKA a stick in the mud. But I cannot say that about my benefactor. Such alcoholic barrels had been known to leak and create fumes, which could explode if sufficient amounts were involved, and a flame or spark caused ignition. Mary Celeste had a hole in the galley floor which gave access for gas to enter the room and find the kitchen stove. An amount of fumes may have caused a small explosion, runs the explanation. And such an explosion would not leave burn marks or carbon evidence of what happened for others to find later. The evidence for this view is that when the ship was boarded, the hatches were found thrown open. Exactly what would be done if it was decided to air out the below-deck cargo area. Yeah, also, the captain's skylight was blown open as well, right? Further evidence was found that a single small boat had been carried on the main hatch, and a lifted sail showed that it had been launched. The view presented by Harris, then, is that on a possible warning from a small explosion, the captain and crew, suddenly alerted to their danger, threw open the hatches to allow any fumes to escape, and to make certain there would be no follow-up great explosion, launched a small boat and left the ship to wait out the airing out of the cargo spaces in the hold. In that way, they would be away from the ship in the event of a large explosion, and could go back aboard after the wind had cleared the ship of alcohol fumes. Here it is. The, quote, industrial alcohol, end quote, as Elder said, was intended to be sent to Italy to fortify wines, but was not good to be drunk by itself. Was not even good enough to fortify wines, if you ask me. This type of cargo, according to Harris, had been known to explode, and it was likely that the captain of the Mary Celeste was worried that he was, in fact, riding a sort of explosive device. T. Plateau says, and they were, as they awaited for the gas to dissipate, they were all eaten by a giant octopus, which left evidence in the small boat, which also capsized. Returning to the article, the view presented by Harris is simple, but does seem adequate to explain the mystery ship. In fact, a small quantity of fumes of alcohol could have been smelled by the cook, even without any explosion. He could have notified the captain, who then could have ordered the hatches thrown open and the ship's boat lowered to take the 10 people aboard away from the immediate neighborhood of the Mary Celeste. Did they go too far to be roped to the ship, or forget to rope the small ship to the Mary Celeste, in the event that the wind might pick up and carry the ship that they had left away? Even worse, did they tie to the ship with a faulty knot that slipped and left them at the mercy of the ocean, as a freshened wind carried the Mary Celeste away from them more and more quickly than they could row? I'd be rowing like a madman. The entire scenario makes pretty good sense. The condition of the ship as found showed that it had passed through some rough weather successfully, but was boarded by those who discovered it in fine weather. The alcohol fumes solution seems reasonable enough. If the bad weather was still in force as the ship was abandoned, it might be that in the storm itself, some fashion prevented the waiting people from reboarding the ship. Or perhaps in some fashion, a problem was caused with a possible tow line, In any case, Mr. Harris is said to be congratulated on his presentation of this solution. His work already cited also contains good evidence for the reason for various other sea mysteries, and is well worth the reader's attention. Since no trace of the 10 people was ever found, writers still explored the interest inherent in this case. But John Harris seems to have brought forward a simple but possibly true explanation. If his view is sound, then the sea must have overwhelmed the small boat, and all in it were lost. And the time is 21 minutes past the hour. Time for our first suggestion. And that is from Green Tea. To wit, who was Harry Price, and what were his famous experiments about? Includes results for pioneer of paranormal investigation, famous English ghost hunter, the Harry Price website. Let's go to the Snorse and ask the horse at harrypricewebsite.co.uk. Elderground says the lifeboat was recently discovered, and evidence confirmed this theory. Wow. So long, T Plateau. Thanks for joining in. T Plateau at her daughter's this evening. Not sure if it's evening in Australia at this time. Probably daytime in Australia. Right here, it's 10:22 p.m., as I said. Or 22 minutes after the hour at this point. What time is it in Australia right now? It's Saturday. No, it's Sunday at 21 past noon in the afternoon. And here's an article entitled The Intriguing and Notorious Investigations by Harry Price, under the category Famous Cases, at the harrypricewebsite.co.uk. I don't see the complete text of the Rosalie chapter, huh? Oh, these are all notated as to source. Okay. And we got to get rid of, kick this restricted banivator. Rebanning him from Twitch. All right. Beginning aside from his work within the confines of the Seance room, as his popular reputation as the leading psychical researcher of the day grew, Harry Price was called on to investigate a vast array of unusual and, in some instances, completely bizarre and outrageous cases. We could use a little biography first, right? This is the home page. I'm surprised they didn't start out with a little bio, but excuse me. We can do that here. What? Please contact me if you wish to use an image from this page. Yes, sir. Will do. And biography in a separate page. Okay. Why isn't it letting me click on it? Okay. Weird. I right clicked on biography and it interpreted it as a picture. Evidently the website designer interprets any link as a picture. Or? Yeah. He put safety links around these links as well. This covers all aspects of Harry Price the Man. Some notes on Harry Price's biographies. Yeah, let's see some notes. Let's just click on it. Let's not. It's a criticism of other biographies. Let's see. Let's see his obit. Reproduced from the Journal of the Society for Psychical Research. So I'm going to have to get used to not right-clicking there. Printed in 1947. To the general public, no one engaged in psychical research more better known than Mr. Harry Price, whose death was recorded in the press on March 30th. Mr. Price, who has since his boyhood kept up a keen interest in psychical matters, joined the Society in 1920 and shortly afterwards became prominent in the Society by the exposure of Mr. William Hope, the spirit photographer. Conan Doyle, that is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, took up the cudgels on behalf of Hope, and for a time the controversy over the Crew Circle tended to obscure more important developments in psychical research. Yes, Doyle, who also wrote, of course, Sherlock Holmes stories, was also very interested in the occult. Mr. Price was by temperament essentially a freelance, as are they all, right? And acting as such, he was able to pursue methods of investigation and publicity, which would have been incompatible with work conducted under the auspices of an old established society. One need only mention the entertaining episode of the Brocken related in Confessions of a Ghost Hunter. It would, however, be unfair to Mr. Price to suggest that all his investigations were of this nature. He had a very genuine interest in the seance room and in poltergeists, and his knowledge of conjuring and his skill in working various systems of mechanical control made him formidable to the fraudulent medium. The results of his investigations were presented to the public in a series of articles in the bulletins of the National Lab for Psychical Investigation and in various books. But by these publications, by his lectures, and by his close contact with officials of the BBC, we're talking radio here, folks, he succeeded in interesting in the particular aspects of psychical research with which he was most conversant. A very large public, to whom a more philosophical approach would have made no appeal. In other words, he was sensationalistic. I wish that a more practical obit had been printed here than one we see, but let's see, the base room, gallery profile, seance room. Let's go back to biography. As part of his contribution to the Sky, one Harry Price, Ghost Hunter program, Andrew Clark answered a series of questions set by program makers, which are included here. Harry Price the Man by Andrew Clark. Let's look at that. The 1920s seemed to be a great age for mediumship. Why do you think that was? Andrew Clark is a historian. He took part in the recent Harry Price Ghost Hunter program on Sky One. Oh, so he was on TV, evidently. And this is Andrew Clark answering these questions about Harry Price. Answer. There was huge public interest in seances and mediums. The shock of the scale of the slaughter in the First World War. They called it the Great War back then. The awful personal losses suffered. The dwindling faith in the traditional teachings of the Church. Growing swiftly after the rise of the Industrial Revolution. The rise in interest in mysticism. Death was in the zeitgeist. Until Harry Price's pioneering work, few people were aware of how easy it was to fake the evidence of the afterlife. How did he become the most famous psychic researcher in Britain? He wasn't a psychic researcher in the modern sense, but an investigative journalist who specialized in debunking the worst excesses of mediums. Oh, Harry Houdini, huh? Green Tea says, I believe Harry Price investigated the Borley Rectory. Thank you, Green Tea. The Borley was a very creepy place. Well, we'll save that as a final suggestion. Thank you. Max Monroe is here. Welcome, Max. Thank you, Maxwell. Or Maximilian. How did he become the most famous? What personal qualities did he bring to psychic research? He had terrific energy, one of the best writing styles ever to have been used to document psychic phenomena. He was a great showman. His physical presence oozed charisma, dignity, and integrity. He was not a man one would wish to cross. And now I want to read one of his articles. I would like to read an article written by the researcher Harry Price. Boy, we're doing terrible stuff here with our dragon. I gotta paste this here. It didn't say by, it just said E. Wood is misspelled. Researcher has no re on it. Searching the web. So, the two notable researchers named Harry Price. One 1881, the other not. The British one. Always interested in people with a good writing style. Not a book, an article. Full text of biography. We don't need a biography. Article that offers a wealth of information, including reports on, I want to read one of his articles. One of his articles I want to read. One notable piece is published in, you can access it through Harry Price's website's online library. I hope they give a link. Harry Price website, .co.uk. We were just there. Where is the online library? They don't call it an online library, evidently. Base room, seance room. Can you give me a link? Online library. Thank you. Secure connection failed. Try again. Oh, come on. Learn more. Eldergone seems to have found something. Thank you, Elder. I Really Saw a Ghost by Harry Price. Okay, let's check out this guy's writing style. Many times I have been asked for my best ghost story, for the most thrilling and sensational incident in a lifetime's inquiry into the unknown and unseen. I have investigated hundreds of alleged haunted houses, sometimes, as at the Borley Rectory, with exciting results. I have attended thousands of seances, many of them in my own laboratory, in an attempt to pierce the iron curtain that separates this world from the next. I have sat in poltergeist-infested homes, in which objects have been flying about, objects which no human hand could possibly have propelled. I have seen crude limb-like materializations form under my eyes when experimenting with the Schneider mediums. I have shivered as I watched the mercury fall during a seance, when normally the air should have become warmer. But only once have I seen what you would call a ghost. Yeah, this guy's a good writer. This guy's a pretty good writer. I don't like reading a bad writer. I do voice practice for the show. I read books to my wife, mostly science fiction books. Some classics, but mostly science fiction books. And I can't read a writer who can't write for... I can't read a writer who writes poorly. And there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. A ghost which was a solid three-dimensional spirit form. Apparently the other side of that iron curtain I have just mentioned. On November 8th, 1937, a few days after I had broadcast a talk on haunted houses on the BBC, a woman rang me up to tell me an extraordinary story. She explained that she was the wife of a hop broker and had a large house in the south of London. So 1937. Get over there. I don't like it when that gets big. What is a hop broker of 1937? Would likely refer to someone involved in buying and selling of hops. No kidding. The flour is used primarily in brewing beer. In the 1930s, a hop broker in Britain. This would have been in Britain. A hop broker was a key figure in the agricultural and brewing industries, specifically dealing with the trade of hops between growers, often in counties like Kent, Herefordshire, and Worcestershire. Same as the sauce. I gotta laugh. What's the allegory? Morning Glory is here. Welcome, allegory. Trying to go back to the topic at hand. I think we're down here somewhere. They negotiated prices. They arranged for transportation. They inspected for hop quality. Yeah, that sounds like a high-paying job or a high-paying position to me. And I know the story's here somewhere. I just forgot to remember where it was. Here it is. It's at the very end. It's after the multi-cut. It's two things after the triangle. Some years previously, she had met a middle-aged widow who attended the same church as her. The widow, a Frenchwoman, had been married to a British officer who was killed in 1916 in the First World War, leaving her with a young daughter, Rosalie. The widow determined to bring up her child in England and made her home in London. The child, Rosalie, was never strong. In 21, when she was 6 years old, she contracted diphtheria, and after a few days' illness, she expired. It has here, she died, but it's in brackets, like those square brackets, I'm not sure what you call them, but the square ones, which indicates they replaced the original words in the article with something else. Wait, the original's here. Let's see what he really said. Hope this is good enough. Oh no, please contact me if you wish to use this image. Let's see if we can use our magic solution to enlarge this image. And we need settings. We need to go down here on settings and do this. Then do this. And now, yes. Open image, new tab. I'm not using it, I'm just borrowing it. Oh yes, it's good. Good resolution too. Sweet. I will actually read from here then. Some years before. Does it say? No, what did they do? What did they do? It's blocked out for some reason. What? Where the words should appear, there's another story pasted right over it. Was never strong. In 1921, when she was 6, she contracted diphtheria, and after a few days' illness, oh, because the author couldn't read it either. Because this is all they have. This is all the author of the website. Because this is all they have as a source. Oh, what a shame. And what is that in the middle? The adjacent words are okay. Look at this crease goes along with this here, right? The crease goes along fine. That's, we can see clearly. But over here, there must have been an error at the newspaper. And after a few days' illness, you can't even see the bottom of the comma. There were words supposed to be here. That almost looks like type print there. So yeah, an error at the printers. What a shame. The mother, whom I will call Madame Z, was heartbroken. She became ill with grief and nearly expired. And then came the miracle. One night in early 1925, when Madame Z was lying awake in bed, can't see the bottom of it, though. Huh, interesting. I'm trying to find where she's lying awake in bed, people. Sorry for the dead air. The author inferred, says Elder. Then came the miracle. She thought she heard her unalive child's voice calling mother. She nearly swooned with fear and delight at the thought that her girl had come back and was still near. She called her daughter by name, but there was no reply. Next night and on many succeeding nights, Madame Z heard that same word mother coming out of the darkness in the same loving, lisping voice that was so dear and familiar to her. Gradually, she thought she could see in the dim obscurity of her bedroom the fluorescent outline of her child. She put her arm out of bed, she said, and her hand was clasped by that of Rosalie. After that, the visits became more frequent, the spirit more human, and mother and child even talked a little. That was the story told by the woman who rang me up. She added that in 1928 she persuaded Madame Z to visit her home in order to see whether Rosalie could be induced to appear. Okay, let's go back to the article, which says, the experiments were successful, and in 6 months' time, the child was materializing regularly in the home circle every Wednesday night. I was invited to attend one of these seances. I was surprised when I was told that I could take charge of the seance, search the rooms, search the sitters, control anything and everything. The one condition was that I had to ask permission to do anything during the actual sitting. In order to avoid shock to Rosalie or her mother, this was reasonable. I accepted. The seance was fixed for the December 15th, 1937. After I had supper with the family, I began my search of the house, a large detached building. I examined every room. I sealed all external doors and windows. I removed most of the furniture from the seance room. It was the drawing room. What is a drawing room? What is a drawing room in Britain? I don't even know what it is here. In large 17th to 19th century homes, guests would dine in the dining room and then withdraw to a more comfortable and private space. Withdraw the drawing room, hence the name. It was typically used for entertaining visitors, tea or light conversation, playing music, or displaying taste through decor and artwork. It's a living room, said Kinga Kong. Thank you, Kinga. Mondo V is here. Armando says, whoa, AI Bill is not lively flesh and is not lively as flesh and blood Bill. Thank you, Mondo. I examined the bare boards of the floor. I sounded the distempered walls and ceiling. Distempered. What are distempered walls? Distempered walls. No, there's no hyphen in distempered. Distempered walls refer to walls that have been painted or coated with distemper, a traditional type of paint used especially in older buildings. Painted walls, or coated walls. I blocked up the chimney with newspapers. And finally, sprinkled starch powder in front of the fireplace, and locked the door in order to register any possible foot or hand marks. Then I sealed the door and windows with adhesive tape and screw eyes. Here, let me just put some screw eyes in your door jamb. And drew the heavy curtains across the windows. A mouse could not have entered that room undetected. We were ready for the seance. It was 9:10 p.m. when the finished job. It was 9:10 p.m. when I finished the job, watched not without amusement by the broker and his wife, his daughter, her boyfriend, and Madame Z, With myself, these formed the sitters. What's this guy's name? Harry Price? We're done with one column. Then I searched them. No one was concealing anything. In the center of the... And I'm probably going to have to go back to the other source at this point. Yeah, I am. And find center. Whoops, misspelled center. Again. In the center of the room, I placed 6 heavy mahogany chairs in a circle. We sat down. My host switched off the lights. The seance began. Kengakong says in Washington State in the 70s, it was quite common to call the living room the drawing room. We also called couches Davenports. Yeah, they called couches Davenports in my grandmother's family on my mother's side, as I remember. Joseph Whitney has arrived. Welcome, Joseph. Suddenly, Madame Z gave a choking sob and murmured, "My darling." I was warned that Rosalie was present. At the same moment, I sensed that something was before me and that the distressed mother was fondling her child. Then something brushed my left hand. It felt soft and cool. I did not move, but asked permission to touch the figure. Permission was given, and I stretched out my arm, which came into contact with the unclothed and living body of a little girl, about 3'7" tall. I stroked her cheek and rested my hand on her chest. You gotta be kidding me. I could feel her heart beating and could hear her beating. Then with both hands I felt her hair, long and soft, falling over her shoulders. By this time most of the sitters were distressed and the women were sobbing. I got permission to examine the child by means of some luminous plates. Luminous plates? What might a Brit refer to as luminous plates in pre-World War II Britain? Most likely talking about glow-in-the-dark signs or dials, particularly ones that used radium paint to glow in the dark. So something that had radium painted upon it, I guess. I found that Rosalie, and I'm gritting my teeth here as I read the following line, was a well-formed little girl with dark, intelligent eyes, which gazed into mine without flinching. I received permission to speak to the figure. I hesitated and finally said, "Where do you live, Rosalie?" No answer. "What do you do there?" No answer. In fact, there's no answer to any of these questions. "Do you play with other children? Have you any toys there? Are there any animal pets?" Rosalie simply stared and did not seem to understand what I was saying. I asked her a final question. "Rosalie, do you love your mother?" I saw her expression change and her eyes light up. "Yes," she lisped. Ryu 1972 is here. Is that a suggestion, Ryu? Rosalie had barely uttered this single word when Madame Z gave a cry and clasped her daughter to her breast. Okay, Ryu, thank you. Our luminous plates were removed and the seance was over. Rosalie had gone. We sat for 15 minutes, then the light was switched on. I found all my seals and controls intact. Did he examine the ceiling? Seal, looking for the word ceiling here. Go up. I sounded the distempered walls and ceiling. Sounded, I guess, means knocked upon, I guess. But I just want to confirm that. What would it mean in 1937 Britain if one were to say he sounded the walls? Most likely be referring to a technique of testing the structure of the walls by tapping or knocking to assess their condition or thickness. Aldergrone says it sounds like luminous plates could be used as night lights, right? Did they have night lights back then? In the same era, were children... Were night lights available for children? And if so, what were they? Yes, nightlights were available for kids in pre-World War II Britain, particularly by the 30s, so this is 37. However, they were quite different from the modern electric nightlights. Nightlights for children were typically oil lamps or candles. Electric nightlights were emerging by the late 30s, often enclosed in porcelain or glass holders shaped like animals, flowers, or children's favorite characters. Some parents would use luminous paint or phosphorescent materials, there's Elder's suggestion, to create glowing objects such as wall decals, stars, or shapes to give children a comforting glow at night. These items would glow after exposure to light. Actually, radium glows all the time. Would any of them have employed radium? Yes, it's very possible that radium was used in certain nightlights or related luminous objects in that era of Britain, though it was more commonly associated with clock dials, watches, and military equipment at the time. And the plates of psychical researchers. Gas lights, says Joseph Winnie. I think that was a little earlier. Joseph Winnie also confirms tapping or striking of the walls. Joseph Winnie says probably not, for radium was rare. That's a good point. A lot of it would probably be pretty expensive. But this guy's got a high-paying job writing for a news rag. What's he worry about money? All right. After thanking my hosts, I left, not nearly as skeptical as I was a few hours before. I was impressed, puzzled, and almost convinced that survival of human personality had been demonstrated. I asked for another sitting in my own lab with a different group of observers. This was promised. But before it could be arranged, Madame Z went to visit her old home in Paris. This was at the end of August 1939. She was apparently engulfed by the war, and nothing has been heard of her since. Wow. His only ghost. That's a pretty good article to read from Harry Price. Cool stuff. Aldergrone says also when they say luminous plate, It could be something as small as a doorstep, not necessarily a plate for eating. Yeah, I didn't picture I didn't picture eating plates, but I did picture plates big as eating plates. I pictured rectangular plates. Plates to me is rectangular, and about the size of a dinner plate, I pictured. Thank you, Elder. Green Tea says, I was just explaining to a young nurse today about how we used to have special rakes for our shag rug carpets in the 70s. She was like, why? All right, next up. At 1 minute past the hour. Here's a suggestion from Verpine. To wit, something spotted at Area 51. Mysterious tower. Thank you, Verpine. Mysterious tower spotted at Area 51 on Google Earth. Mysterious triangular Ooh, a British rag. I love my British rags. thedailymail.co.uk. Here's the story by Jonathan Chadwick for Mail Online. Entitled Mysterious Triangular Tower at Area 51 is discovered on Google Maps, as baffled viewers suggest it could be alien technology. And Mr. Chadwick begins. People are being left concerned by a mysterious triangular tower stationed at Area 51 in the Nevada desert. The imposing sci-fi-worthy structure, about 80 miles northwest of Las Vegas, is circulating online after being spotted on Google Maps. On social media, people have compared it to a skyscraper, an exhaust vent, and even a Dyson air purifier. But its location at Area 51 is leading conspiracy theorists to speculate that it is somehow involved in alien contact. Area 51, the highly classified United States Air Force base and active military installation, is frequently linked with UFO theories and folklore. After a shot of the tower was posted to Reddit, and there it is. Wow, you can see the triangular shape, both parts. We'll take a close-up look in a second. One user said it's where the aliens test their various white substances. Someone else posted, obvious alien technology. It pops out when the Earth is done. Like a turkey timer. You can buy those, you know, those turkey timers. Chicken timers, same thing. I have bought them. I own them. And if it doesn't have a pop-up timer, I stick one in. Yeah, let's take a close-up look at this. This is the view from Google Maps. And there's what appears to be a sharp triangular shadow presented by the tower. However, it's not exactly shaped like that at the top of the tower itself. It looks more like a compass, almost like the compass of a mason's compass. What? Let me try this. That's the highest I can make it go. A sideways mason's compass. See, you have the top of the compass here, and it stretches out, and this is almost a gradual curve. What a weirdly shaped object. What the heck? What is that thing? And around it, oh, missile silo, some kind of missile silo, rocket testing, I would say rocket testing gantry, which is blocked off on all sides so that you can't see what that rocket looks like. They want to let people see that. So they can launch their own rockets into space when they want to, right? Yeah, I think that's either a rocket gantry or... Yeah, I think it's a rocket gantry. But then you would need something reinforced to leading up to it, where you're carrying the rocket itself. I don't see anything reinforced leading up to this circle of concrete at the base. Looks like there's dirt roads around it, as a matter of fact. Maybe they haven't started using it yet. Maybe the reinforced road is yet to come, because those missiles are heavy. And there has to be a place to raise it into the gantry. Huh. Gotcha Man, welcome. That reminds me. Got a promo Gotcha Man's movie coming up this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And reviews from IMDb. Haunts of the Very Rich. Proves that the only place where you can still occasionally stumble upon a genuinely original, surprising, and completely undiscovered hidden horror gem is in the TV movie archives of the 1970s. This being from 72. I often don't comprehend where they keep coming from, but this era produced literally dozens and dozens of worthwhile and even downright terrific horror material. Oh yeah, the ABC Movie of the Week. All those good horror movies. Of course, it was in the thick of the Vietnam War we were watching those. So it was a horrific time, which I believe was reflected in our made-for-TV movies. This ABC Movie of the Week is typical of one of those lost treasures. And in a review of The Terminal Man, based on a Michael Crichton novel, this tells the story of a computer programmer who lives in fear that the machines of the world will soon be taking over. His fears are made reality after he suffers a terrible car accident, the after effects of which leave him with violent episodes. That's acting violent. To effect a cure, he is made the subject of a new operation in which a computer chip is implanted into his brain. Yeah, they're both horror this coming week, people. Both horror classics. Hosted by Gotcha Man. Joseph Winnie says, no support buildings or infrastructure. Total nonsense. Eldergrown asks, what is that crosshair doing there? I've never seen crosshairs on Google Earth. Yeah, that's interesting. Why is there a crosshair there? Huh. Does a red crosshair ever appear on Google Earth? We shall ask AI. A red crosshair can sometimes appear on Google Earth. It's not a standard feature for all users, but it shows up in specific situations such as place mark targeting. So unless you're targeting something. Or with GPS and coordinate tools, if you're using certain developer modes. GPS tools or KML files, whatever those are. Google Earth Pro. Third-party tools. It is not a it is not a default indicator. Featured in the standard version of Google Earth, web or mobile. Lost my story. Whoops. My fault. There's the mail. There's the Daily Mail. Elder responds with 3 crosshairs. Another Reddit user adds, it was built to specifically provoke theoretical conversation. And, quote, Facebook users also joked about the identity of the tower, with one person calling it a new version of Jenga, the popular British board game. Jenga's British? Interesting. It's not a board game, is it? Jenga's not a board game. Is Jenga a board game? Is Jenga a board game in Britain, but not in the US? Got to spell it right. Jenga is not a board game in the traditional sense. And it's definitely not exclusive to Britain. It's a global game, very popular in both Britain and the United States. Yeah, but it's not a board game. Does that guy think it's a board game? The popular British board game. It is a game made out of boards, Rapine points out. Oh, board game. Okay, thank you, Rapine. You're almost correct, V. Ryu loves Connect 4. Oh, I love Connect 4 too. Oh my God. They now have a version that you can get that automatically, that you just put a slider on the bottom and it automatically empties the correct colored chips to each side. That's kind of nice. I don't have one, but I love that. I always lose though, especially against the computer. Allow this for Gotcha Man. Yes, please. I have allowed the term shag for rugs only. Rapine used to play a lot of Connect 4. Someone else remarked, that's my Samsung TV remote, while another said, that's a leaning tower of pizza. One simply offered the description, Toblerone Trade Center. Yet another said, the aliens are like, we can help you out, but we can't work on those square things you humans work in. We need our tall triangular-shaped building. Gotcha Man correctly points out, Austin Powers may have been banned. Others compared it to the tall revolving home air conditioners from the likes of Dyson, with one saying it is being used as the cure to global warming. As noticed by other commentators, it has a similar aura to the mysterious monolith in Stanley Kubrick's science fiction film 2001. On Google Maps, the unusual structure can be located simply by entering the coordinates in the search bar. And we're going to do that now. Copying these coordinates. Google Earth. Thank you. Ooh. There's a way to look at historical stuff too. Oh, even more. Oh, I was wrong about the top, except I was wrong about the curvy side. But I think I was right about the, and I wasn't even right about the top of the compass. It's a completely triangular top, evidently. Is that the same orientation? It is. That's the exact same. Is it? Does this building rotate? You gotta be kidding me. Look. Check it out. No, wrong one. Go here, please. Does the damn building rotate? There's one view. No, it's exactly the same orientation. That's exactly the same orientation. I thought I got lucky there. Okay, so wrong about the shape of the top of the building. It's got these, down the side of the building, it has these three vertical ridges. Huh. The photo in the article might be altered. Eldergrown provides that. Yeah, good point, Elder. Thank you. Or it might just be a blurry photograph. Where's our story? I'll get it eventually. It's in the one right before the Blue Earth. As users can see, users of Google Earth. Oh, get out. What? Get that ad out of here. I can't read the... Get the ad out of here. Just go. Go. Share selection. Go up here. Thank you. As Google users can see, it's stationed in the remote spot in Nevada. Northwest of Las Vegas, the state's largest city. I didn't know that. It goes to reason, though. There's the famous monolith from 2001. It is adjacent to a vast network of buildings, cars, and runways that form the highly classified area, officially called Homey Airport or Groom Lake. The tower has what looks like a long, looping dirt pile going around it, in the shape of a noose. Good evening, Crowman. Joseph Winnie, says Bill. I could Photoshop that coming out of your forehead. I have a certain set of skills. I used to do a better Liam Neeson. I have a certain set of skills. Good point, Joseph. Thank you. Welcome, Crowman, Master Composer. You would not believe, those who have not heard Crowman stuff, you should check it out on YouTube. Throw your channel name there in the chat, Crowman. The Crowman, whose real name is Colin, is just an amazing and prolific composer. Just so gifted. You got to check out his channel. Crowman, throw your YouTube channel name into the chat, please. And Crowman says he will. Thank you, Crowman. All right. The tower has what looks like a long, looping dirt pile around it in the shape of a noose. Really? Looks to me like the concrete base. I don't see where they say that's a noose. It's a perfect circle. A noose implies a more lazy interpretation of... Oh, there's a wasp in here. More lazy interpretation. Do I have a handy fly swatter? Please let me have a handy fly swatter. Yeah, we have a wasp here. I have an interesting wasp situation adjacent to the studio. In the windows adjacent to the studio, the skylight windows, horizontal skylight windows. Wasps have built their nest. And they're waking up. So I'd call that a concrete pad, not a damn noose, if I was them. Crowman has a link. We're going to take a look at it. Thank you, Crowman. This is Crowman's channel. Colin L. Lambedarn. So let's see what the East, since I don't know if anyone can spell Lambedarn, especially from memory. Let's see how it appears under a search for Colin L. Search for Colin L. Then go to Filters and select Channel. It's under Type here, the second category. Select Channel. And it'll be, of course, it'll be Colin L. Lambedarn. But there's a bunch of Colin L's first. That's the problem with that technique. Try Colin L. L.A. I'm trying to think. Is it 2 L's in the beginning there, Colin? 3 L's? Let's see. Where are we? We got to go back here. And back again. Yeah, 3 L's in the beginning. Try this if you can't remember Lambedarn. I'm going to duplicate this at this time. Took me a while just to be able to say it. Try Colin L space LL. You can remember that, I think. So let's search for that. Colin L space LL. 1 L and then 2 L's. Then go to Filters. Second category, choose Channel. You'd think it would pick it up right away, but they still have the stupid Colin L's here. It's not even coming up like that. Okay, people, we're going to have to spell the name. It's Colin L. Lambedarn. And Lambedarn is double L. A-N-B-A, darn. If you can remember darn, you're partway there. Colin L. Space L-L Anba, darn. That's too hard to remember. A-N-B-A. Colin L. L-L Anbadarn. Colin L. Lambedarn. So, if that doesn't work, write it down. Let's put it up here where people can seize it. How can I do that? Oh, I should have done that. That was a really bad decision on my part. I just lost my Twitchology down there. Okay. Yeah. Go to a new tab, please. Move tab to new window. We'll go over here. No. No. We'll go over here. That's how you spell it. How are we going to do this? I'll put it in a text document. And that's going to be waxing out here. I don't want to subscribe to Colin L. I accidentally subscribed here. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. And let's grab any text document. We'll grab this one. And we'll make that... well, we'll put it at the end. Let's do that instead. No, put it at the beginning. Yeah, put it at the beginning. What the hell? Colin Lambedarn and format font. Let's say 28. No. Format font 48. Go. Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. Let's move this down a little bit like this. Did not want to do that either. But this might work. Okay, get that text file. And put it right up here. Oh, no, it goes there. It goes big if I do that. Can I go like this? Can I go like this? There we go. Okay, that's going to be up for a couple of minutes for you guys who want to hear some amazing music. It blows my mind. This guy writes for orchestra. And I don't know how he produces all the musical instruments he does and the examples on his YouTube channel. But somehow, whether it's by AI or he has a lot of orchestral friends, it's just amazing music. Just amazing. So check out his channel on YouTube. Crowman says, I got some real smackers for you soon. By which he means excellent compositions. So go check out his page on YouTube, please, guys. All right. Save. No, thanks. Don't save. Okay. And back to... Not that one. This one. The tower has what looks like a long, looping dirt pile going around it in the shape of a noose. Is it there when you look at it from farther away? Is that the idea? Keep going to Harry. Maybe the dirt pile around where they constructed the concrete pad. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Leading one Facebook user to call it a very accurate sundial. Curiously, Google Maps does not name the structure. And if users click on it, Eldergrown says, I think they mean the fire trucks. Or the tire tracks. Thank you, Elder. Curiously, Google Maps does not name the structure. That's not curious, it's classified. And if users click on it, they're only presented with a pop-up of its coordinates. However, there appears to be a rational explanation for the tower. Not to do with aliens, or global warming, or a monolith. The tower is used for radar cross-section testing, where aircraft or mock-ups are mounted to measure how detectable they are to radar. One Facebook user explained, its shadow and elevated position match the known appearance of this type of pylon structure, used for mounting full-scale aircraft models or prototypes. End quote. Variously described as 150 feet or 190 feet in height, it was reportedly constructed 20 years ago, but only acknowledged by the U.S. government in 2013. Largely due to U.S. government secrecy surrounding its military efforts, the site will likely long continue to inspire such far-fetched theories. It comes shortly after a mysterious structure in the mountainous region of New Mexico took the internet by storm, sparking claims of UFOs. Google Maps users spotted the large white disk poking out from the ground at an elevation, so not a missile gantry. Oh, you bet, Crowman. Anytime, my friend. Anytime, Colin. Rapine says, Google Maps. What is the tower and how should we label it? Area 51 guard, move back, or you will be detained and we have authorization to use lethal force. Good one, Rapine. Joseph Winnie suggests scalar radio radars, perhaps. Okay, now that we solved that mystery, next up, and I haven't been keeping track. Where do I keep track? Right here. Must be third suggestion. That is going to be from T Plateau, who is with her daughter right now on a fine Sunday afternoon in Australia. Dinkamasi has arrived from a fine Sunday afternoon in Australia. Dinkum says they have one at Area 51 that lowers into the ground when certain satellites pass overhead. No kidding. For testing stealth. Groovy, man. Thank you, Dinkum. Yeah, no problem, Colin. I'm just in awe of your prowess in the area of composition. The time is 30 minutes past the hour, and it's time for a suggestion from T Plateau. That being did British intelligence unalive Rasputin? I love Rasputin topics. Joseph, when he says, bless her heart. Thank you, Joseph. You're the man. Wait, I have to go back one before I do this. Or else it includes results from two different searches. Ah. Good. Right at the top. British intelligence is mentioned here. Rasputin's mentioned here. Let's open up rbth.com/history. Let's see what we get. How was Rasputin murdered, and were the British involved? Written by Georgy Manayev. Oh, that's from the series from Netflix. Huh. I didn't realize they had a new Rasputin series. Grigory Rasputin, the infamous mad monk and close friend of the last Russian emperor and his family, was murdered on December 7th, 1916. But is it true that British intelligence was involved? In 2004, the BBC aired the documentary Who Killed Rasputin? The British Plot, claiming the whole murder plot was devised by MI6, and that it was the British officer Oswald Rayner who fired the final shot to the head, or was it? Why is the British account questionable? Is this Rayner? This is Mansfield Smith Cumming, the first director of the Secret Intelligence Service. (1859 to 1923). Because it's based solely on memoirs and testimonials of the British people. First of all, Sir George Buchanan, British ambassador to the Russian Empire between 1910 and 17. Newspaper reporter Michael Smith wrote that British Secret Intelligence Bureau head Mansfield Cumming ordered 3 of his agents in Russia to eliminate Rasputin in December of 1916. One of them was Oswald Rayner. He studied in Oxford with Felix Yusupov, probably the wealthiest man in Russia, and a husband to Prince Irina, Nicholas II's only niece, and reportedly developed a romantic relationship with him. I think back then that was illegal in Britain. While Yusupov and Raynor were certainly close friends, Raynor had been present in St. Petersburg on the day of the murder, and even visited the Yusupov Palace the same evening. However, all this doesn't prove he killed Rasputin. Later in Europe, Raynor helped Yusupov translate Yusupov's first book on the matter of on the unaliving of Rasputin. It's rumored they may have shaped the story to fit their needs. Big Test has arrived. Welcome, Big Test. Big Test says, "Wee!" I love that. That's so cool. Wee! Big Test, my friend. This being Prince Felix Yusupov. Boy, these pictures are huge. Designed for mobile, I take it. Professor Keith Jeffrey of the Queen's University, Belfast, who was given unrestricted access to the surviving historic files of the Secret Intelligence Service, said he found no evidence to support recent claims that MI6 was involved in the assassination of Rasputin in 1916. If MI16, this is a quote, he said, if MI16 had a part in the killing of Rasputin, I would have expected to have found some trace. Who and why wanted Rasputin dead? This being Rasputin, of course. Crowman says, and I have to read this because I might forget to look at the screenshot later. Come on, you. It's so hard to grab those little teeny slide bars. People, computer people, some of us are old. Why can't I grab it at all? I'm right-clicking. I'm left-clicking, I mean. I should be able to grab that thing. What is going on? There, I have to grab under it a little bit, I guess. I use all methods to create my music, from AI to real instruments, which I throw into most pieces that I do. AI has its place as a sampler. Then I edit this to play live over with real instruments. I play guitar, keyboards, violin, flute, and a few more. Even the spoons. Wow. But even that, even his ability, even what would they call it? A poly. I know if you're a mathematician, it's a wasn't it a polyglot or something like that? What do you call someone who can play a bunch of instruments? I have to ask AI. A single word for a person who plays a bunch of instruments. A multi-instrumentalist. Definition of polyglot. Someone who can speak, write, and understand multiple languages. Oh. So mathematics might be a variation of that. Polymath, yeah. Polymath. Thank you, Green Tea. Thank you, Rhinorex. Welcome, Rhinorex. Polyglot is multi-languages. Thank you, Gotcha Man. Did you get my email message, Gotcha? Just curious. Haven't heard from you in a while. But wondering if you got the message. Ryan Rex says, just been here being quiet tonight. That's okay. A quiet spirit is a good thing. Okay, I think we're up here at the beginning. Oh, groovy. Thank you, Gotcha Man. I was worried you had not yet received it. Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me for that. I had meant that to be muted before I so grossly cleared my sinuses. My apologies. It was like, push the button and then clear. But instead I cleared and then pushed the button. Dickamossi says, I'm a noisy bugger. Just ask my neighbors. So we got to go to the front. There it is. Grigory Rasputin earned his influence on the Tsar's family because he could really soothe and calm down Alexei, the heir to the throne. That's right. Alexei was a what do you call it when you can't stop bleeding? When if you're cut, you can't stop bleeding. He's one of those. One of those. Hemophiliac. Thank you, Elder. He was a hemophiliac. Allegedly using hypnosis techniques. However he did it, he was doing something that neither doctors nor Orthodox priests could do, to their envy. But Rasputin had more powerful enemies. Hemophilia also, reminds Green Tea and Rhino Rex. Rhino Rex says, my wife agrees with you about the quiet spirit, especially when it's my spirit being quiet. Joseph Winnie reminds us hemophilia. Big Test says perhaps reptilia. Good one, Big Test. Crowman suggests fountain. As in fountain of, I just heard a good word for it the other day. I can't remember it. Old Man Lenny, welcome, sir. After 1905 to 1906, Rasputin seemed to have understood his power and began to preach. He famously said that the last times of the empire were coming. Perceptive as well. I don't think I could be comforted by a doctor or a priest if I was a kid. Priests always scared the hell out of me. And doctors, maybe I hated more than feared. He also predicted that giant ants would destroy kingdoms and cities, that butterflies would turn into hawks, and bees would be crawling like snakes. No, we're not joking. But such was the scope of his predictions. Crowman says, I once bled on a jet spray a couple of times. Ouch. I hope that you put pressure on that pretty quick. In case anybody can ever use it in the harrowing times that are sure to come, they taught us in the Army, that if you have a sucking chest wound, get a piece of plastic. Any piece of plastic, it can be what your food came in. Because, they have those MRAs, those big MRAs in the Army. In plastic bags. And put it over the sucking chest wound. Just thought I'd pass that along in case anybody needs to use it. In case somebody gets gets around to the chest and needs immediate attention. Piece of plastic over the injury. Green Tea says, I'm most afraid of hospital staff, the ones that make the decisions. This picture being Rasputin, and Alexei must be the only boy, because all the rest were girls, I guess. There he is, in a sailor's hat, or maybe, yeah, in a sailor's hat and a sailor's shirt as well. The young lad. Surrounded by 3 people, so he's protected. Thanks to his perceived abilities in healing and hypnosis, Rasputin had a strong influence on Empress Alexandra. Gotcha, man. It makes a comment about the sucking chest wound. That would be when you're hit by a round, I imagine, through the lungs. Or a lung, rather. Or maybe both. Or maybe both. Yeah, check his back, too. Check the back, too. A strong influence on the Empress and subsequently on the Tsar. In 1911, the Russian Orthodox Church openly criticized Rasputin, and the Ministry of the Interior ordered outdoor surveillance to be set up for him. Nobody, especially highest officials, liked the fact that some loony was steering the country's politics. If he was. It was rumored, however, never proven, that in 1912, the following year, Rasputin convinced Nicholas II not to enter the Balkan War, thus postponing Russia's participation in World War II for 2 years. 2 years later, Rasputin still strongly disagreed with the decision to engage in war, saying it would lead the country to disaster. Another bad prediction. It led all countries in that war to disaster. Trench warfare. The biggest waste of human life of any warfare ever developed. Rasputin's actions were also... Rasputin... My clip didn't play. I was going to do a whoopsie clip here. Let me try again. No more whoopsie clips. Huh. That's not good. I'll have to check that. Yeah, Jackie Gleason isn't coming on. Not at all it worked. It worked wonders. Thanks, Big Test. At least it's working. Rasputin's actions were also eyed warily by Russia's allies, most notably Great Britain, who had a clear interest in Russia engaging in the war with Germany. Otherwise, most of the German war power would be unleashed upon the UK. This is World War I, Rhino Rex. Trench warfare. They called it the Great War before they started to number them. Who plotted the unaliving? This young soldier being Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich of Russia, who should be coming up here in the discussion. Excuse me. Thank you, Elder. If you missed it, I also thanked you for your comment telling me that the Great One had played. There are a lot of different memoirs and accounts of the day of the murder, and various persons have been linked to it, including this man right here, Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich of Russia. As of today, most Russian historians agree that the murder plot was devised by Prince Felix Yusupov, Vladimir Preskovich, a right-wing ultra-nationalist politician, and Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, the Tsar's first cousin. This triumvirate were almost certainly present at the crime scene. It is also probable, highly probable, that there were two more, Dr. Stanislav Latsevert, who supposedly was in charge of poisoning, and Lieutenant Sergei Sukhotin. How did the unaliving go down? This being the Yusupov Palace. There are still more questions than answers about that unaliving. For instance, Felix Yusupov changed his statement about that night 5 times. I guess he didn't watch too many whodunits on TV. Additionally, the original police forensic report did not survive. So we've gathered bits and pieces of information to try and recreate the unaliving scene. Felix Yusupov, using his status and fame, invited Rasputin to his palace on the Moika River, supposedly to meet some woman in which Rasputin was interested. There he was offered cakes and wine, poisoned with cyanide, which he duly consumed without any effect. Cyanide, by the way, tastes like almonds. So almond cakes would have been the most effective. Please do not attempt this at home. I watched in terror, Yusupov later recalled. The poison should have taken effect immediately, but to my astonishment, Rasputin continued talking like nothing had happened. Yusupov left for a while, then returned with a firearm. Eldegron says, "Rah, rah, Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen." Message retracted. Sorry, Elder. He shot Rasputin, but after some time the monk regained his senses and attacked Yusupov. Then the other plotters went in and shot Rasputin several more times, but he fled to the yard, where he was chased and shot again, this time fatally. Then the unalivers tied up his body and threw it in the river, where the body was found the following day. Forensic experts found 3 wounds on the body. Excuse me. Gotcha Man saying that building looks fake, like in a spaghetti western. Yeah, I noticed that, but I don't think it is fake. It's just that, I think it's just that the building being the Duke's palace. I just think the angle it's at, you can see the corner there. I think and a lot of buildings, from what I've seen in Russia, have this kind of formation. A lot of big buildings have this kind of formation. Configuration. Forensic experts found 3 wounds: the liver, the kidney, and the head. all of them turning out to be lethal, so it's not clear when exactly and by whom Rasputin was unalived, and highly unlikely that he could run. Typically, a man dies within 20 minutes of receiving a liver wound. Upon the body's discovery, it had no coat on and was not tied, contrary to what the unalivers claimed. There was no cyanide found in Rasputin's stomach by forensics. There are versions that Dr. Lazovert, allegedly hired by Prince Dmitri to administer it, didn't actually do it. There's also a version that there were no poisoned cakes or wine. All this was made up by Yusupov for some reason. Here's a Webley. New Model Army Express No. 5. Adopted by the Transvaal government, wherever Transvaal ruled. Not sure. A Webley 455, the gun with which Rasputin was supposedly unalived. Prince Yusupov and his aides understood that Rasputin's unaliving would most certainly bring terror upon the Tsar's family, who believed in Rasputin's supernatural powers. So to prove that he was just an imp in the flesh, a hell-born heretic, Yusupov made up a tale that even poison could not kill Rasputin. The ability to survive poison was traditionally attributed to magicians, and the Orthodox Church disapproved of them. So Yusupov wanted to prove that Rasputin was not a holy man, but in fact the opposite. Was the unaliving properly investigated? Immediately upon learning of Rasputin's murder, the Empress Alexandra demanded the unalivers be executed. However, the Tsar decided differently. Prince Dmitri was sent to serve in the army in Iran, which ironically saved him from the revolution. Yeah, I guess they killed those guys, right? The aristocracy. A lot of the aristocracy was unalived during the revolution. And Felix Yusupov was sent into exile to one of his many private estates. Aw, he had to rough it. The investigation lasted for just 2 months until Nicholas II abdicated. 2 days after that, the head of the provisional government, Alexander Kerensky, ordered an end to the investigation. Don't forget, folks, coming up this Wednesday, the movie's hosted by Gotchaman on Twitch. In Haunts of the Very Rich. Whoops, didn't want to do that. In Haunts of the Very Rich, 7 vacationers are on an airplane, bound for a mysterious resort called the Portals of Eden. They're all about to experience the vacation of a lifetime. This is the dark side version of Fantasy Island. In The Terminal Man, as the result of a head injury, a brilliant computer scientist begins to have violent seizures. Violent meaning he gets violent himself and hurts other people. In his wish to control them, he undergoes a new surgical procedure, which is not entirely successful. And we'll see you there. Until then, may God bless and protect you all.